was something that was a bombshell in my second trial in San Mateo County. It's the mainstay of the prosecution's case. It's their centerpiece, and like you say, it's what they have called the smoking gun. Jury in San Mateo felt otherwise. And let me point out here that the things that I'm talking about, I testified to. I did not hide from the San Mateo jury. I took the stand. I was on the stand for 10 days. I was cross-examined by the prosecution for 5 days. So it's not just a case of, well, it's easy to say that, in a recorded message on a Gtel conversation from prison. This was heard by a real jury, and I have declarations from over half of that jury saying that they, after seeing all the evidence, including hearing my testimony, they felt that I should have been acquitted on the Levin charges. But be that as it may, the to-do list, it's a 7-page document. It isn't mostly in my handwriting, and almost all in my handwriting. And I testified as to what that document was. It was prepared, it was notes primarily from a meeting held at the BBC offices involving some of the prosecution witnesses, and for obvious reasons they don't want to admit that it was notes taken at that. But we were trying to think of a plan. So we're dealing with this con man, Ron Levin, and he's judgment-proof. So the idea of civilly suing him is just like get in line. There's a whole list of the civil litigation he was involved in at the time. He was an expert at turning what was criminal fraud into a civil matter, so to avoid arrest. And he would even talk about that in our presence. Anyhow, so the idea of suing him to recover the money he owed me as a result of my profitable trading for him was not looked at as a viable alternative. So the idea came up that we would bluster and posture like bad things would happen to him if he didn't pay. Now, if you've seen TV, movies, and things like that, this kind of a device commonly comes up in Hollywood movies and television shows where some group of people tries to fool or inveigle another group into believing something's false in order to cause them to act in a way that's expected. So this was pursued. That's what the notes were about. The notes became a prop in a plan to intimidate Levin, where I showed the notes to Ron Levin.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
On June 5th, and left them there in his possession. Now, that would all just be my assertion, except for the fact that this woman named Karen Marmore, who was the wife of Len Marmore and a neighbor to Ron Levin, testified in San Mateo County that she saw these to-do lists on Ron Levin's desk while he was having a phone conversation, and she was in his office waiting for him to get off that phone call. She saw them, picked them up, looked at them, saw some of the key words that are in it, and recalls it. Now, Karen was, during her professional career, an officer at a bank. She is not a person that I had any relationship. We were not like friends or had any knowledge. She was the wife of Ron Levin's, what's believed to be Ron Levin's best friend, a guy named Len Marmore, and would just have no motive to aid me in this at all. Her testimony was heard by the San Mateo jury, and they've written about it and said how credible and persuasive they found her testimony, because their choices between either believing Dean Carney, who was the chief prosecution witness, troubled young man who was in a very complex predicament legally and facing all sorts of jail time, either believing Campbell or believing Karen Marmore, and so they chose to believe the neutral, independent witness rather than the immunized, compromised witness that the prosecution argued as to the meaning of the to-do list. So basically, if Karen Marmore told the truth, then the whole prosecution case is wrong. And that there's a witness like Karen Marmore is never mentioned in any of the documentaries or either of the movies or either of the books that are that are out there on the case.